Now going over to the business blunder of the day, you have Toyota Supra sales crashed in 2023. I blame the dealerships and allocation. Now, this comes to us thanks to Jalopnik, and specifically, they note that, again, this is from Steve Del Vista, and they say that, excuse me, Supra sales are down 46% year over year, and that's even with an introduction of the third pedal, which, again, I agree with most people in the fact that day one, that vehicle should have had 3 pedals, also known as a manual transmission, also known as a stick shift, also known as the most fun you'll ever have in life while driving and operating an automobile. Again, I can't emphasize enough. If you want a stick shift vehicle, go out and buy one now to keep the stick shift alive, to send that signal to manufacturers that they still want to keep it. Now, when the Supra first came out, it was controversial because it is mostly BMW. When you look at the percentage of parts manufactured, it also, I believe, is manufactured by, is it Mecum or Micom, a third-party manufacturer that they're kind of a white label or OEM. So it's one of those things where they're not assembling this at the Texas headquarters in Plano, Texas. And there's a lot of collaboration with BMW. Obviously, you have the Toyota-inspired styling. But it only came with an automatic transmission from day one. Which, again, the whole automotive enthusiast community, the people who love that car, I would argue a lot of them were influenced by Fast and Furious, which has become a huge automotive icon in and of itself. And the Mark IV Supra, I don't know if you'll ever get that magic again. The new Supra, again, mostly manufactured by BMW. But they did, to Toyota's credit, they take out a massive amount of resources. They actually made the manual transmission for it. So a couple years later, you could buy it with a stick shift. And truth be told, if you get the GR package, you actually get a free membership to NASA, which I believe is I should know, I'm actually part of it. I think it's the North American Track Association or it's something like that. But it's a phenomenal club to be a part of, and they teach you how to race your vehicles. And Toyota, they have that whole program where you get that free 1-year membership, and you get a track day from Toyota. So if you buy a Toyota with the GR trim new, whether it's the Toyota 86, the Corolla 86, or the Corolla GR, or the Supra GR, again, GR is their racing brand, the racing team, you get that awesome track experience. And truth be told, every time I go to the track event, they have their whole team there. They even have their own garage there. It is brilliant marketing. It's awesome. And there has been an increase in stick shift interest, but the overall sales are starting to flutter. Now, I also think this is partially due to the economy, political unrest, and economic uncertainty. Sure, it would be nice if we got gas down to like $1 a gallon. Would be great if we did that. But nevertheless, now one of the issues that a lot of people are noticed are the dealerships. Now, look in terms of statistics on how many people or how many few they sold. They know that, excuse me, Toyota sold 2,652 Supras in 2013, which, again, this is why you have cross collaboration with companies like BMW, because to make a car from scratch it's a $1 billion gamble. Now, granted, you can hedge your bets by you can do polls, you can gauge interest from the public, but it takes a lot of infrastructure to make a vehicle. And again, in 1 year, they sold 2,652 Supras. Now, that was 2023. In 2022, they sold 4,952 Supras, which is ridiculous. Now, they note that the new 3-liter Supra will run you near about $60,000 in automatic or manual. Let's see. And again, that's a pretty high price point. And that's if you can get it at that. So now I'm curious. If we just go to Toyota's website, what is the actual price gap? So what's the cheapest Supra you can get in theory versus the top? So no way. Did they drop the price? So the Toyota GR Supra, which again, that's the one where you actually get that free class as well. And again, I was going to say, I should email or call Toyota and be like, is there an affiliate link? Because I talk about this thing all the time. But nevertheless, I'm not paid by them or anything. They say that it starts at $46,440, which at that price point is pretty darn good. Now, the issue is the dealers. I'll get to that in a New York minute. Oh, come on, Toyota website. So I'm trying to see the actual price gaps or the price options. So we go to the build. Okay, here we go. So it starts at, again, $46,440. That's for the basic MSRP. Then it goes all the way up to $55,400 for the 3.0. You also get the 3.0 premium, which is $58,550. And then you have the 45th anniversary, which has special paint and a couple other things. And I'm sure it's tuned a little differently as well. That goes, again, this is base MSRP. That is $65,275, which that's not the craziest gap in terms of automotive. I mean, I think the craziest was the Dodge Challenger, which started sub about 30 grand and went all the way up to like over 100 grand. I think that's the pinnacle vehicle of like diverse trim levels and packages. So again, it looks like Toyota, the article on Jalopnik is saying it's around 60 grand. It looks like it just started at $46,440 for the base 2.0. Now, it's one of those things where that's great, but how much does it really cost? Now, one of the biggest issues with most manufacturers that they're struggling with is the indirect sales model. Now, that does help them in terms of if you need your Toyota fix, you can go to a Toyota dealership, which is not owned by Toyota, but is a franchise model. So basically, they pay Toyota a fee to use their branding, their logo, to get training, certifications, and then they service the vehicles, which is a big point of revenue as well. Now, the issue with Toyota is they can't legally dictate the prices of the vehicles that are being sold. That's why a lot of people are blaming these big automotive companies. Like, we have, geez Louise, some Dodge dealerships and Chrysler dealerships, they're charging over $100,000 for the last Challenger, which again, you could debate if it's really worth it, because it is the last hoorah, fastest car in the world, but they couldn't control that, and customers are getting irate. I don't know how, perhaps they were inebriated by drinking Bud Light, but someone's buying a Ford F-150 Lightning for over $100,000 over MSRP, which meant they're spending about $250,000 on an electric pickup truck, which is obviously ridiculous. Unless the bed of the truck is filled with diamonds or gold that exceeds that value. But you have the dealerships where they're adding a lot of what they call market adjustments. That's why I think the Honda Civic Type R is a ripoff at most dealerships, because they're charging 15 grand over MSRP, and MSRP alone, known as, historically speaking, you don't pay MSRP because at MSRP they're making a hefty profit as is. That's why before the pandemic, consistently, it was a joke, only suckers paid MSRP, with the only outliers being specialty not one-off vehicles, but limited edition vehicles. And I mean limited in terms of, there's actually maybe 150 or 250 units, not like some automotive companies where they just have a trim level that's called limited, and the only limiting factor there is how many units they can push. Now, in the case of his cases with the Honda Civic Type R, I've seen dealerships that are charging 15K over, which means, I don't know, again, perhaps they're inebriated and they're drinking Bud Light. People are allegedly buying these vehicles for $70,000 for a Civic Type R, which I would never do. I love my Honda Civic SI with the stick shift. They only come with stick shift, as all cars should by default. But when you have these pricing adjustments, you're alienating a vast amount of the market, and you get to these price points where, well, why not get a used Porsche or a used Corvette or something like that? It's a different category altogether. Now, I say that's the main issue when it comes to Toyota because, again, going to the comments section, anecdotally speaking, one of the biggest issues is that the dealerships don't have stick shifts. Interestingly enough, I had my interview podcast where I talked to someone about how they want to get a Mustang, and they had to go to 6 dealerships to find a base model Mustang with a stick shift. No one else had them. So the dealerships, they're not gauging customer demand properly, which again, I'm not sure if they're just not sharing data with each other, or that seems like something that could be fixed properly with just data sharing and just getting more in touch with the consumer. But nevertheless, going to the comments section, a lot of people are knowing the dealership allocations. Some people saying, we just can't find these vehicles, and when they do come to the dealerships, they're finding them in automatic only. So I think that is a contributing factor. Now, we'll do a couple of the comments here, and let's see here. A lot of people saying, so Post-O-Matic 2000, he says, quote, "This is a really great example of keyboard warriors loudly exclaiming for the need for a manual transmission about whining about engagement and complaining about inferior automatics, blah, blah, blah. Once the Supra is offered manual, sales drop," unquote. Now, I would also argue, because everyone who is a diehard Supra enthusiast either bought something else when it came out, or they acquiesced and got the automatic. Now, the first response to this is one of the most liked one. Now, that got 18 likes. And as a youth might say, this person was ratioed, to say the least. The ratioed person was Cronus. They said, quote, it's too little, too late. Should have had a manual from day one. It was never going to be a big seller. It's ugly and not a Toyota, but every little bit would have helped," unquote. They got 23 likes. So, as youth might say, again, they were ratioed. Because, again, yeah, they should have had that day one in terms of the manual transmission, of course. And it never was going to be a big volume seller, which is why I think, business-wise, it made sense to team up with BMW, Because again, the research and development costs in just manufacturing the engine alone, you're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars. It's astronomical how much it takes to actually get a vehicle from just a concept car to actual production in the real world. And I can't help but think if Toyota had more accurate communication with the dealerships as well as the end users, again, there are myriad ways to go around that, they wouldn't have had a big of a drop in sales. So I think the business blunder is many-fold. Partially, just not having a manual transmission day one. Two, not gauging the customer properly in terms of customer engagement and what they actually want. And I would say three is dealership allocations and making sure they have the right inventories at the right time. And again, perhaps legally precarious, but making sure the prices are not, the market adjustments aren't to the moon. And it is sad to see what many people consider an automotive icon that was brought back to life. But this isn't just only Toyota. The Camaro sales were decreasing overall. Granted, they sold 2x last year before they killed the product altogether. But for just all those myriad of issues with the Toyota Supra, and I do hope it makes a comeback in 2024. But for right now, that is certainly business blunder of the day. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Don't forget to leave a comment and like. That's a great way to give me some additional feedback. And of course, I want to make the shows better and better and better. Also, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.